Alright, so this is a screen recording of my working prototype for my early bird application. So let's just step into that. Alright, so as you probably already know because you are at this point in the presentation, early bird focuses to tries to get people a good amount of sleep and get them out the door in the morning knowing exactly what they have to do that day and what they need for those tasks. Most of what I've focused on in leading up to the prototype was things that I felt were unique, the functionality that I felt was unique to Early Bird, or the functionality that I felt kind of had the most opportunity um, for interface innovation or that needed the most interface engineering, I suppose. Um, and as such, my prototype centers around the ability, basically the layout, obviously, of the entire app, as well as the ability to configure chirps in a relative time manner. And configure chirps basically relative to when your first thing in your day starts, your first event in your day. As well as the actual interface when the chirp, or I guess in previous documentation it's been called a blast, but essentially the group of reminders when those occur. So, all right, we'll go through those. So this is just the startup page. It has a logo. This is when the app is loading. Then you have the home screen. So I chose to do my prototyping using PowerPoint. It's something I've done before. It gives a lot of ability to customize and without um, too much heartbreak. If your design needs large scale changes, you just scrap those slides essentially and move buttons around. So low overhead. Everyone's familiar with PowerPoint. All right. So this is essentially the home screen. At the top, you just have the early bird. Just tells you what app you're in, basically. And then on the front page here, we have essentially what you have for the next 24 hours. So upcoming chirps is a sort of a header, and under those you have each of your chirps that are set for this next 24-hour-ish period. Then you have your upcoming events. These are all the events that you have during the day, that day. And so, because it's PowerPoint, we can't actually scroll with our fingers like an iPhone app, but you can scroll down, scroll up using these buttons here, and there's some other preset events in this prototype for the user to get a feel of what this page is supposed to look like. All right, so something that has been a bit overlooked at this point is how to delineate which of these two bottom um, bottom navigation screens you're on. We are currently on the screen that lists all of your upcoming events. So this is the one on the left here, but that's not totally obvious. This over here, the plus minus screen, is the screen for managing and editing all of your existing data that's stored in Early Bird. So we will navigate there. So this page has your interface to add new things to Early Bird, such as chirps, add a new or integrate a new calendar, such as Google Calendar, etc. Add a new event type, or event. So this could either be a one-time event or an event type that you wish to reuse over and over again, like say the gym. And finally, the ability to integrate your Fitbit or Apple Health information so that it can wake you up in the morning. So we'll scroll down here. That's the add interface, and the next is the manage interface. So in the manage interface, we have all of that data that you have stored, calendars, chirps, recurring event types. So for each of those, you could press on the settings wheel essentially, and you could either alter those, each of those different stored objects, or you could delete them entirely. So this is just your space to manage all of that data. So here, as I said, we're going to focus on adding the early bird chirp, adding a chirp using this prototype. So now we're in the configure chirp page. This would just be essentially a nice animation that folds over on top of to give you a sense that you're moving into a different space. We also have a back button here to let you know that you can just go back without actually finalizing any sort of chirp or anything like that. So first you name your chirp. This one's going to be called Daily Reminder. Imagine if you click in that the typing box, you would have your usual Apple keyboard would come up and you would type in Daily Reminder. So there's three types of reminders. A set time reminder is a reminder that that allows you to just set some sort of reminder, chirp, or whatever at just any time during the day of your choosing. So think 1 o'clock, regardless of what other events you have at 1 o'clock. Then there's the relative time ones, which allow you to set reminders relative to certain events in your day. And then there's the geo reminders or location-based reminders, which which would trigger the chirp to occur as you leave or enter a certain place. Here you have all of your reminders in your chirp. So chirps are made up of reminders. You have all your reminders in your chirp that are stored. We have none here. And then the frequency of how often you want this chirp to occur. And as we have said earlier, chirps can be composed of many different reminders. All right, so we're going to look at the relative time reminders. You have the ability to set the event type or the event that this time is relative to. The gray boxes are supposed to signify that you cannot click on any of these things here or add at this point, so the user is directed to select an event. So this page allows you to select a time to set your event relative to, or an event to set your time relative to. That actually should probably be updated. So in here, we have preset options such as the first morning event or the last event of your day that you can set relative to, as well as your preset event type. So if there is an instance of work starting, you could just say that I want to start 2 hours before work. Same with meetings, or the first meeting of the day, or the first gym workout of the day. And then additionally, there are just the events that are coming up in the next 24 hours that you can set relative to as well. So we're going to pick the first morning event. We want to wake up X hours before the first morning event. So now we have the ability, once we've selected that, to select the hours and minutes beforehand that we want to wake up. We want to wake up 2 hours beforehand. Now we have the ability to configure the last parts of this reminder here. So there are 3 different modes, as was been previously stipulated. So regular mode just means that you will get a listing of all the events that you have coming up, a reminder of all the events coming up during that day without the obnoxious counting down or very loud sounds or any of that. You can easily ignore a regular reminder. Go to bed reminders have the preset stipulation that they will simply remind you. It will essentially be 2 reminders: one at bedtime, and one, if this is a bedtime. So say you want to get 8 hours of sleep, you would set a relative time reminder 8 hours to when you want to wake up, or 10 hours to when you want to go to work. So you would have that 2 hours in there. A go to bed one just gives you a reminder 30 minutes before that relative time and at that relative time. And then wake up is different in that you have the ability to do a Fitbit smart wake up. So this would allow you a 30-minute to an hour window before, if you had your Fitbits or health information synced, to where the app would try to choose the best time to wake you up. that you were in the lightest sleep. So that's basically the difference between those different types. For this example, we want to do a let's see here. We want to do a wake up chirp with some audio, and we want to turn on obnoxious chirp. This isn't very self-explanatory, which I hope the user would just realize after using it, but may possibly need some sort of additional text down here to explain. But an obnoxious chirp is essentially just one that makes you wait 10 seconds to read every single thing that you're doing that day before you can actually finally turn the audio off and finish with that those group of reminders. So we're going to turn that on. We're going to turn Fitbit Smart Wake Up on, and we're going to add that reminder. So now we have this reminder is stored here, and we can add many different reminders. We could add a reminder an hour before work, or an hour before the gym, to once again remind us of all the things we have to do after the gym, etc. So last, we got to set the frequency of how often we want this chirp with its reminders to happen. We want to do this each day of the week. So we want to do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We could do it just at one time, so just tomorrow, or every day, or any group of these amount of days here. And then we finalize our chirp here, and then we have it here in our upcoming chirps. All right, so that's the chirp interface, and then there is the interface for when your chirp actually is occurring. So tomorrow morning, it's the next morning, it's 2 hours before you have to go to work, and an audio alarm is going off, and this shows up on your screen. I think most people are familiar with this interface. You'd like to swipe this, right? And essentially what's happening here is we are notified of what is coming up next. 8:30 a.m. work, we have everything we need for that. And there's a countdown here, and so we can't just swipe this away or ignore it because this alarm is going off. And the alarm will continue to go off until it's actually swiped. So you can't just open it, throw your phone across the room, wait for it to count down, and then expect it to stop. You'll then still have to swipe it. So what we're trying to do is get your attention focused on exactly what it is that you have to do that day, so that you have to acknowledge it, and then you get up. This is just another example of the next thing that you have to do that day, so it cycles through everything that you have to do that day. For this example, we are just going to do 2 reminders, or 2 of these different cards. All right, and that's that. That's the Early Bird app prototype. Thanks for watching and listening.